Hello and welcome to Design Boss Dialogue, the podcast where bold and ambitious women in interior design come for real conversations to transform and take their businesses to new heights. I am your host, Lisa Marie Elkhadraoui, interior designer and business mentor, here to share my experiences and insights into running an interior design business, as well as empowering you to build the confident, profitable design business you've been dreaming of and truly deserve. In this space, we blend creativity with strategy to help you craft your success and thrive in the world of design. Every episode is packed with unfiltered, no BS conversations, daily inspiration, and actionable business tips to turn your passion into a thriving, cash-rich business. Together, we're redefining what it means to succeed in the interior design industry, one intentional, game-changing decision at a time. So get ready to step up, elevate, and create the design empire you've always envisioned. Welcome back to day 7 of the Design Boss Dialogue Advent Calendar podcast, your go-to source for all things interior design and business. I'm your host, Lisa Marie Elkhadraoui, and over the next 19 days, we will be unwrapping gifts of wisdom, practical tips, and insider secrets to help you grow and thrive in the world of interior design. And today's topic is really based around resilience in your business. Today I'm going to be joined by an inspiration to me and my interior design businesses. She is a trailblazer of a woman, a qualified teacher, coach and mentor who focuses on supporting women with service-based businesses to create more profit and create more time and balance, essentially earning more money and working less. As a best-selling author, podcaster and speaker, Samantha Hearne is passionate about more women realizing their success is inevitable and unlocking that for them so that their businesses can truly transform their life and the way they want to live it. Welcome to the show, Samantha Hearne.
Thank you for having me.
Isn't this lovely? I love it. Sam, I wanted to talk to you today about resilience, not just across obviously the interior design industry, but across business in general, and just to talk about how we as businesswomen and mothers, because we have children around the same age, how we can successfully adapt to situations and challenges that arise in business.
Yeah, for sure. I think the first thing that's really important is resilience is completely personal. So, of course, you have some people that you need resilience in your life because you're going through a traumatic time. So there's a different level of resilience that you would need in your life based on if you are experiencing, for example, massive projects and things are changing. If you are experiencing children that are sick, if you're experiencing your car breaking down, if you're experiencing perimenopause, like there's different levels of resilience that you need based on what's happening in your life. But I would say outside of that and outside of those big moments where you're almost being invited to step up and you're having to kind of really, really find that grit within yourself, there is a baseline of resilience that I believe allows any woman to execute and create success. So baseline resilience is your ability to keep going even before you see a result, or when things don't feel easy yet, or when you're trying to do something new. And if you're in interior design, so much of what you do is based on creatives, but it's also based on so many other people doing their job. Like there's so many moving parts. So I think in order for any woman and mum to be able to create progress, build momentum, and actually end up with results that they are happy with, you have to have a baseline of resilience that's just in the tank. And there is that extra level of resilience that you call on when, you know, life throws you the curveball.
I think it's like when the shit hits the fan in the industry. You're like, yeah, oh God, right, where do I pull out this extra resilience? Because I think we've all been there in business where, you know, something doesn't happen the way it should happen, or the day starts off really bad, or you have a really bad night and you're at home with a sick child, you've got to find a way through, don't you?
I think the thing is, you could not find a way through, but I think you'd end up feeling worse. Of course you could say, right, I'm going to down tools. I'm going to just call today quits. I just can't do it. And that's okay, by the way. We all have those times. But if that was the default every time, I think you'd actually end up feeling worse because nothing would move. No progress would be made in any area of your life. And I think when something goes wrong in a way I can't control, whether it is my daughter being unwell, me being unwell, whatever the situation, the thing that makes me feel better is if I feel like I can make progress or make an impact in another area. So I would say, you do kind of have to find a way to do something, because otherwise everything just crumbles because we need the break. But if we have the break and it all crumbles, at some point you've got to start picking it back up again.
Yeah, you've got to almost put the balls back in the basket and carry on. And I think it's the way I look at it is, so when a certain situation or a challenge arises, and mind you, I've only started looking at this particular way most probably over the last 5 years. If a situation or challenge presents itself, I think, okay, well, this is an opportunity for growth. So how am I going to navigate this, regardless of how hard it might be or uncomfortable it feels? Let me find the resilience to work through this, because there'll be a learning curve at the end of it. And it's really finding how you adapt. And I think when you're in those situations, I think those situations present themselves to also sometimes teach you certain things as well.
Yeah, for sure. I just think it's so easy that when you're young, you're at school or you're in education and everything's a lesson, isn't it? Like every week you're learning something new and you're exposed to something new. But it's so easy as an adult to forget that life is a lesson. It's so easy to just think, because now I'm an adult and I've got a house and I've got a car and I've got a mortgage and I've got a job and I've got responsibilities, that's the end of it. And we just take for granted that our life then becomes a lot more monotone. It becomes a lot more predictable. It becomes a lot more adult. We don't have so many nights out with our friends. We're not doing so much about meeting new people. We're not dating. We're not going on girls' holidays and meeting randoms on holiday. There's a level of exposure to newness that we stop having as an adult. And especially once you get to an age and you've got kids and you've got a business, so much of your life is you crave the stability. But then we almost forget that just because things are stable doesn't mean that we know everything or everything stays the same. It doesn't. So everything is always going to be a lesson. It's just positioned in a different way. At school, we're happy to not know anything and be like, okay, but I've never learned this before. And we're happy to be a beginner. On holidays, when you've never been on a holiday, you're happy to be like, this is my first holiday and I don't know what I'm doing. But as soon as we get to like 30, or we've got a kid or we've got a business, we're like, I should know everything. I should have it all down. I should know how to tick all of these boxes. Well, that's just not real life. Like, you just can't know everything all the time. So I agree. Everything is always a lesson. We just forget that it's a lesson and presume and put pressure on ourselves that we're meant to know everything all of the time, which is just not sustainable and it's not realistic.
I think we also put, especially as women, a huge amount of pressure on ourselves as the businesswoman, the wife, the partner, the mother, the home carer, the giver, everything in that realm. It's we do put a huge amount of pressure, and it's also about when situations do arise, it's about giving us the grace and the time to say, okay, let's just take a step back and reevaluate this situation as well. And we don't need to go into it guns blazing 100%. Like, it doesn't need to be reactive. We can stop and consider everything as well. How do you deal with reactions or situations in your business from a resilient point of view?
Yeah, I think as well, before I do that, I'm just going to go back to what you said about the fact that as women, we do kind of navigate all of the things, whether it is like being the home the caregiver, the provider, the wife, the partner, the business owner. If you look at it, the narrative of a woman has changed so much in the last, 200 years, and what our job and our role is in society has completely changed. So a woman that had ambition back in even 100 years ago, when we couldn't vote, was seen as a huge threat. We had no rights, really. We couldn't vote. We couldn't really have a voice outside of one of our primary roles, which of course is a gift, is, the caregiver. So that is a role that even in the modern day is still an expectation of a woman, the caregiver, the homestead, the constant. But what has changed is our ability to see the power of women, whether that is in jobs, whether that is in politics, whether that is in the environment, whether it's in business. So essentially what's happened for the woman is we've grown as a narrative, like we've got this now big new role, but we're still expected to do the role that we were doing. So of course there's only one of us to go around. So the reason there is this kind of added pressure is, not only do I want to be the caregiver and I want to be able to look after my kids and my home and my husband, wife, partner, not only do I want to do that, but I also have ambition. I have goals I want to achieve, and I have drive. And, 100 years ago, you weren't allowed to execute that. So you're kind of navigating as an ambitious, compassionate, whole woman. You are navigating, how do I find and fit into all of these roles and do my best in all of them, which is why there's the pressure, because there is no answer to that. There is no way a woman can know fully how to navigate all of these things, because it is still so new. Like, even if you think 100 years is not a long time. So right, exactly. there isn't a huge benchmark, there's not that much to compare, in terms of like historical figures of women, powerful women. That's all still being written, and that's all still being created. So to go to the next part, when you said, what do I do? Or how do I navigate difficult situations? I think for me, the thing that has always mattered to me is, I think in a past life, I was probably a suffragette or something, because I can't stand the idea that I don't have the choice to do what a man could do. Like, I just think if Luke, that's my husband, if Luke could do something, I want to be able to do it. Not that I would, I just want the choice. Yeah. So a lot of my resilience when it comes to business, or when things go wrong, or, the household, or sickness, or kids, and all of that, is all I really want is to have the same choice as the man. And if the man can choose to go to work and be like, see ya, not that I would ever do that, but I do want to feel like, there's a little bit more of an even keel to it. So a lot of my resilience comes from my fire around, well, hang on a minute, I want to be seen, I want to be acknowledged, I want to be brought into the conversation, and sometimes, of course, you have to fight a little bit for that, and that's draining sometimes, obviously, and any woman listening to this will know that, but I think it's important. That's where it comes from for me. Like, the only reason that I try to keep going, or bounce back, or keep doing things, or moving forward, is because I don't ever want to not be in a conversation, or ever in recognition of, okay, but Sam is capable of that, or Sam could do that, or Sam's got the potential for this, or Sam's got the ability to do X, Y, and Z. I just basically want to keep the conversation and the awareness going that I'm here. Like, whatever's going on, I'm still here. I'm going to be at the table, and I'm going to fucking eat here. So that's sort of where I'm
not leaving without the plate being cleaned.
Exactly. Yeah. I just think I still want to have a seat here. So and that can sound a little bit combative. However, or it can sound a bit, masculine and kind of like authority piece. However, as an ambitious woman who is trying to create both, I think the biggest thing that I fight for is my dreams. So I'm not trying to trigger or be triggering to anyone or try and create kind of, you know, confrontation. But what I am doing is, if I don't fight for what I want, if I don't advocate for me, if I don't put me first, if I don't say that I want to do this, if I don't make my dreams matter, no one else will do that. And then and then it doesn't. So very long-winded way of saying, essentially, my resilience comes from the fact that I just want to fight for what I want my future to look like. And sometimes you have to do that in a much more authoritative way, and sometimes it can be more calm and easeful. But yeah, when the chips are down, I will, you know, make more chips. I won't pick the ones up off the floor, or I'll make new ones. So that's the thing. It's just, what can you do to be resourceful? What can you do to be recognized for the fact that you are capable? You know, that matters to me.
Yeah, I think it's so many women will relate to that, in that position of wanting to fight for choice, to, you know, have that seat at the table and be like, well, hold on a second, do I not get, you know, an opinion here? I think there will also be a lot of women that will have been suppressed in situations like that. So if a curveball is thrown into a situation in their business, such as maybe they've got sick children at home, or there's a situation, it's almost like without second nature. And I know it happens in our household. It's like the other half of the household makes lunch, leaves at 8, bye, see you later, I'll be home at 6. And you're like, hold on a second, am I expected to have a day off? Like, why? So there'll be a lot of women, I think, listening to this, relating to your side, as well as listening, thinking, no, I am going to step up into 2025 and have a more empowered voice, and I am going to change my narrative to have more choice for myself, so that in situations that I need to look at resilience, or how I bounce back, or how I control the situation, or whatever, I'm going to step up into that, because I think every woman should be allowed to do that, regardless of the balance of the household.
For sure. And I think that what matters most is anyone listening to this, and including you and I, our kids are everything, you know, like I fought a long time to even have a child. So, you know, it took me a long time to get her, and I went through IVF, and that was a whole situation. So make absolutely no mistake that she is my entire world, and I'm so obsessed with her. It's actually sickening, right? However,
I love it though.
Yeah, I love it, right? I'm absolutely obsessed with her. The kid has the bougiest life, and I'm totally here for it. I absolutely am so obsessed with that little cherub. Now, what comes with that is what I want to teach her. Now, here's the other thing. She will always want me when she's sick, and same with the boys. Like, of course, when they're sick, it is an instinct. It's an instinct of a child to want to be where they were held safe. Obviously. Now, that is something that we will, as women, we don't want to change that. Of course, like, we looked after them, we grew them, they lived in us, they felt our heartbeat, they went to sleep to our heartbeat. Like, of course, when they're sick, they want to be with the person that, you know, and if you didn't have biological children, the person that fed them at night, the person that held them in their arms, their warmth, they want that. So if you have a child and you are their default, you're their safe space, and that's a privilege, not a burden. And I 100% believe that. However, what's really important for me is I do everything at 110%. Now, I always get told I need to slow down and, you know, blah, blah, blah. However, how much I am obsessed with my child, I also have that obsession with my business and my success. And when she was sick, she's only really been sick this one time, to be honest. It's quite new for us. Like, she's 2, but she's just never really been ill. So when it happened, it was like, wow, this is terrible. But in our household, I said to Luke, we're going to have to, it was on my work days. And of course, same with interior design. When you have clients and they're booked in, it's not as easy to reschedule them, because they have other commitments, they have other business, they have other contracts. So it's not like I could have said to all of my 20 clients, right, let's move to Thursday, Friday, because they've got their businesses to run. So I said to Luke, we're going to have to find a balance here. I will move my morning calls, move my lunchtime calls, so she can nap at home, she can have me in the morning. And then can you come home early from from work so that you can be here for dinner time and snuggles on the sofa and bedtime. And Luke's done every bedtime since she was born. He's always done bedtime unless he's been away. So that routine is quite normal in our house. So obviously, if you are listening to this and you've got all these clients and they're taking you seriously and you're being seen as a professional and you've finally got your foot in the door, and then something happens that reminds the world that you're a woman, I'm not being funny. If they don't want to accept the fact that you're going to give as much to your job and your business and your clients as you would to your child, they are not the right clients to have, because it should be your choice and your prerogative to decide what you want to do. If you decide you want to completely shut down and look after your kids, your client should be completely understanding about that, because they would want that reciprocation. But if you do say, can we tweak it? Can we move it? Can we find adaptations? I think the bottom line here is women should have more autonomy of what they do in crisis, rather than just being expected to pick everything up, because it's a huge burden for a woman as well emotionally. It's not like you're there just like totally robust to life. You have to have a minute to be like, I need to breathe, and like, what?
And it's about self-care as well in those situations, because like you said, you fire off on all cylinders when kids are unwell, and it's so difficult to keep things running. But actually, you're the glue that holds everything together sometimes. And it's also about the self-care within that. And like you just said, we aren't these super, robust, right, let's ready, like hit me with everything. We're still human at the end of the day. We still
100%.
have our divine feminine side, as much as we can be powerful business women, and there is a masculinity to that. We also, when the curtains come down, it can be very, very vulnerable. And like you say, I suppose that is a whole new conversation with aligned clients in your business. And if you have the right clients, they will understand and wait.
Of course.
And make business easier.
I think resilience as well is seen sometimes as like being a fighter, or having that kind of like strength to go to war. But sometimes resilience is just having the ability to decide what you want in the moment and advocate for it. Like resilience can be, look, this is where I'm at and this is what I need, or this is what I'm going to do, or this is how I'm going to move forward. Resilience is a mindset as much as it is an action that people see you kind of like rising and like doing the thing. It's a mindset. It's a choice. It's a way of being. And having resilience just essentially means that you will always try and find a solution. That's being resilient. Like, how can I make this work? How can I find a solution? What needs to be done? You're a solution-based thinker, not a problem-based thinker. That at its core is resilience, I think.
And I think that is an art form in itself, to be able to very quickly look at a situation and how are you going to adapt? What's going to happen and move? How does the week look? How are you going to slot everything back into place? What needs priority? What needs moved? How things need juggled around? And then to be able to slip back into the normal, maybe week after or whatever. That is an art form in itself, because it's so easy, like you said at the beginning of this conversation, to throw the towel in and say, well, do you know what? I'm just not going to deal with today. And today's just not going to happen. And it doesn't change anything apart from add to the workload, add to the stress, and add to the burden the next day.
Yeah, because no one's doing it for you.
It's the easy way out. Yeah, no one's going to do it for you.
Yeah, no one does the food shop in my house if I don't do it. So it's stuff like that. Like sometimes you just can't add more stuff to your workload because you've already got everything else to do. So you think, is it easier to do it? And that's the thing you have to weigh up. Is it easier to do it or to wait? And sometimes it will be to wait, and sometimes it will be to keep going. And that's what I mean with resilience as a mindset. It's about you finding the solutions that you feel will actually help. That's important.
Yeah, I love that. Going back to the food shop, it's such a, if one thing doesn't get done, it can also throw the whole week out. And I sometimes feel in my business, I would love to walk in and have the meal prep done and the fridge done and the planning done and actually not think about it for a week, because that can be a huge juggle in itself with a businesswoman and adapting to situations and juggling their business.
Totally.
And how you also keep all of those balls up in the air.
Yeah, my to-do list is like my saving grace.
Work through it.
If it's not on my to-do list. Yeah, Ocado is on my to-do list every week. Like if it's not on my to-do list, Christmas shopping, what I'm buying people, like if it's not on the list, it's not happening, because I just don't have the mental bandwidth to retain that.
Yeah, I'm the exact same. And I found by carving, actually having things a lot more structured and carved out in certain task formats on certain days when things get done. I mean, we're coming down to mundane things like washing and food shopping and present buying and all of those things. I carve time out in the diary now to try and do it so that it's actually ticked off the list and done. Otherwise, like you say, it never gets done. And then when the shit does hit the fan and something happens, everything can actually get slotted in so much more easier, because it's actually, you can see everything on a plain sight.
Exactly.
I think so many women are going to be listening to this going, yep, I hear you, I understand you.
Essentially, we're all in this together.
Yeah, we are. And I think it comes back down to also having a really supportive tribe around you. I'm so much about the women and the community that you have around you, so that when you do have situations like this, you can lean in on certain people within your business, within your personal life, so that you do have that strong tribe of women to sometimes just get you through. If it's voice notes, words of advice, others to step into certain things. So yeah, it's about all being together in it.
100%. And that's the other thing. I think it's just important to know that, you know, everyone, whether they share it publicly or not, has their own things to navigate.
Yeah.
And it's worth remembering that, you know, like when you do feel like you're in the like depths of hell, you'll never be, if you're the only person going through it in that moment, you are not the only person that's ever been through it. So being exposed to other women is really important, because you'll realise that you're never truly alone and you're never the first one. Someone's done or navigated what you are struggling with, whether it's in business or personal. There's always someone that's got a piece of advice or got something to share. And that's why we need collaboration, as we have to be able to collaborate and talk and network and be around others and be exposed to different experiences and people and advice and knowledge and thought processes, you know, because otherwise you become very, very isolated with your own beliefs, and that's not good for your mental health, and it's not good for your self-confidence, and it's not good for your well-being to feel like you have to do everything on your own.
Yeah, I especially know in the interior design industry, it can be a really, really lonely place as well. And when you're a single business owner and you're in the interior design industry, I know some women, they just see all other business women as competition, regardless if they know them or not. They just see them as competition, and it's almost back up against the wall mentality. And obviously, this is why I've been so passionate about starting Design Boss Diary, because it's about community, inclusion, tribes of women supporting one another, empowerment, and bringing single business owners together so that they don't feel like they're on their own. So when they have these situations, everyone can all club together, all support each other. So it is a massive lesson is don't be on your own in these situations either.
For sure. And also as well, when you're in a job where you do it on your own, you know, you're a business owner, you run your own business, it can be quite easy to feel protective what you're doing. And I think what's important is everyone is an adult and everyone has self-efficacy. So you have the ability to know who to trust and who to connect with. And sometimes people are sent to give us lessons, you know, we trust them and then it doesn't work out, and that's okay. But what's really important is that you give yourself the chance to be supported. That's a skill. You give yourself the chance for someone to look after you, to see you, to support you. So I think that's the most important thing. You don't ever want to close yourself off to support, to close yourself off to that. And the person that closes themselves off is going to be the person that's left alone. And then that reinforces. Whereas if you do open yourself up and you realise, actually, you could have interior design businesses, friends, and they're based in Scotland. That has absolutely no bearing on you in Surrey. So you could be friends with people that do what you do, that are nowhere near you, that also have a different specialism, that focus on bathrooms, that focus on living rooms, that focus on paintwork, that focus on colour. Like, you know, you can, within your business, you will be able to find people that you trust, that want to be your peers and biz besties, that do nothing but bring enrichment to your life. And it's not about competition. And every business owner is also savvy enough to understand that. Like, what do you want from a business peer and a business friend? It is connection. It is togetherness. It is collaboration. And if you ever did feel like there was a misalignment or there was a competition there, then that's where you draw boundaries. You know, like, I want us to be able to be friends, but maybe we don't cross business. We're all adults. But
exactly.
Give yourself the chance to risk and experience that. Don't feel like you can't explore friendships because of what you do. You know, that you don't want your business to isolate you.
Yeah. And I think it's so important within that whole building your peers, biz besties, you know, whatever industry you're in. I know with me, I have a couple of clients at the moment that are maybe like 20 minutes down the road from me. They're both on the same patch of territory in terms of the town. And even I would be considered a designer for that patch as well. So there's 3 or 4 of us. But actually, when you are completely content within your business and within yourself, and you know that there's enough chimney pots and you have your own niche and you've niched down, you almost build a resilience to that as well, because you understand and know that this is my business. I'm successful in my own right, but I can have peers around me, even if they are close to me. But it does come down to, like you say, we're all adults. It's understanding what you want from a peer. And I heard a really good saying once, I think it was in an interview with Oprah Winfrey, and she was saying,
Love Oprah.
If you have isn't she just if I had a dinner party, I think Oprah would be there just for like the guest.
Yeah, she's a great one.
You can't have someone close in your tribe as a business bestie that's going to get jealous of you, because you need women that when you have success, they're going to cheer you on, rise you up, really, you know, praise you for it. And when you're down in the gutters, they're going to lift you up and walk you through to see the light again. You can't have people that are really, really jealous within that situation. But then it comes down to understanding and knowing who your peers are and how to pick them out.
100%. And give yourself the chance to explore that.
Yeah.
You know, like, just explore. And if you end up in an environment where they're not your people, that's okay. You know, like, I this year decided I was going to go to one in-person thing a month. That was one of my goals for 2024, because obviously 22, 23, I was pregnant and had a small baby. So I did do a lot less of that. And actually, it has made a difference, because I've been around some people that I really, really love and some people that aren't quite my flavour, and I'm probably not theirs, and that's okay. But you're never going to know that until you put yourself in those rooms, that experience. And that's all also something as kids we would encourage. So if you have got kids, you're like, right, let's go to a new club, let's go to start a new thing, we're going to do a new hobby, make new friends. We encourage it all the time. And then what, as soon as we get to 30, it's like, no, I don't want friends. So I just think, you know, you do want to be able to just explore that, don't you? Sometimes people are your people and sometimes they're not, but having exposure to people is still better than thinking that you have to do everything on your own.
Yeah. And like you say, going back to accepting support and help as well within that, within your people.
Yeah.
And it's not seen as a weakness, it's actually seen as a massive strength.
Of course. And that's the other thing. Everyone wants that. You know, like, we all want that. So if you want it, so does someone else. So if you both want the same thing, you've got an aligned desire. So, you know, that's half the battle. Now you just need to find the people.
Yeah, you need to go out and get them.
Exactly right.
Oh, I've loved today's conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and having a
Thank
chat.
you so much for having me.
Oh, it's been so lovely. Thank you. No, I've really enjoyed it. And I hope that, and I'm sure today's listeners will take so many nuggets of information and support and advice from what you've said for their businesses going into 2025. So a huge thank you. Once again, thank you so much for coming on today's podcast. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode as I give you the narrative you need to support you through challenging situations when faced with client interaction and questions. Join me tomorrow morning for another empowering conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Design Boss Dialogue. If you love what you heard, then please share the podcast with your friends and any women that could do with a dose of empowerment just from me. I would love to hear your thoughts around today's podcast with your key takeaways and wins, because your feedback means everything to me. Also, don't forget to leave a review as well as hit that follow button so you never miss out on any inspiring conversations with me or any other trailblazing women I have on. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes, and remember, unleashing your inner design power and unlocking your true potential is only a click away. See you next time.